Hello again, everyone. So I deeply apologize for all the confusion and inconsistency in the internet connection and your inconvenience. So my intention was anyway, I wanted to give you more time in the morning time instead of using your traffic in the commuting in the on the heavy rain. But it seems the broadcast, forecast was not very correct, unfortunately. And it seems that having the quick transition to the Zoom format is not that beneficial for everyone. And also, I didn't imagine I would have the internet connection problem because I didn't have any issues so far. But it seems probably, unless we have the official notification from the university, we'll keep in-person format as much as possible, or cancel class based on the heavy rain and the broadcast and the forecast, weather forecast, and based on the decision of the university. We can keep that. All right, so because we had the internet connection problem in the Zoom format, as I told you through the announcement and the email, I will record the video and I will make it very shorter than the actual class, so that you can use your time to review the lecture you missed. Alright, so on Wednesday and even Monday, we talked about what are the differences by gender and what are the origins of the gender. For example, based on the nature, these are based on the determination of the biological effects at their birth. And some other aspects are based on their culture, socialization, and the peer impact. They would be influenced a lot, and based on their socialization processes, they will learn that how to behave as a man or as a woman. So these books, there should be some of the determination based on the biological matters and based on their hormone. Estrogen for the woman and testosterone for the man, for example, as a general differences. But still, even though we were born in the based on their biological differences, we would learn that which are more acceptable of the masculinity and the femininity in the culture, because there are many different types of the images of the males and the females based on the USA culture and even the Asian culture, for example, and even Latin America. There are many differences. So we cannot say which one is ultimately better or ultimately more dominant than the other, but still we will see the mixture of these differences. So again, there was a very big survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, which is NPO, non-political organization and non-profit organization, which is very big on the research institution. They made a survey asking which gender living as which gender is more beneficial or easier. So in general, all adults said that living as a man is easier, 9% and living as a woman is easier. There is no difference. So saying that there is no difference in living as a man and a woman, then this would be very beneficial. But again, a man says the 28% of the men said living as a man is easier, and 14% said living as a woman is easier. So there is no big difference, as no difference between those two races, or two genders. But woman said the 40% of women said living as a man is easier. So there are some of the differences based on their gender, whether living as a man or a woman is easier. And based on their political orientation, Republicans are less likely to think that living as a man is easier. So based on the gender and based on the political orientation, we can see some of the differences of their notion to be living as man is easier or woman is easier. So about the sex segregation and their promotion and the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is the word and the terminology that there is invisible barrier. Means that these are blocking some gender on the people from the promotion to certain levels of the stages of the class. So the first general in the US military that was conducted in the 1970 in the nursing and medical field, usually the field of the caring on the parts and the function for the woman, and there were on the very slow promotions. So for the Army, Air Force, and the Navy, all the military, all the branches, there were the four-star. There were four-star generals, which are the highest rank of the military service on the military on the staffs. And there were on the gradually done after 1970. And even the transgender, Dr. Rachel Levine, who is a transgender, cisgender woman, she became the first on the general as the transgender people. Still, she's a civilian, and she's kind of on the dual job as a military and a representative in the field. But still, she's the highest rank of the people in the military as a transgender and the cisgender people in the United States. So we are not sure how long does it take to have the higher proportion of the transgender people, regardless of our opinion. So I'm not saying that I'm not ignoring your opinion, but still there are very sharp debates whether the transgender individuals would be accepted as the military forces or the soldiers. But there are the gradual changes, as we discussed after seeing the video, about accepting the transgender or other transgender athletes in the competition, or respecting their own decision if they are doing or fulfilling their own fate or the future. So still, we may not reach the consensus to which one is the better decision or better opinion, because based on their party or based on your situation or your social context, you are more likely or less likely to accept the homosexuals or the transgender people in your own community or in your field of the competitions. But well, let's see how it goes in the near future. Okay, so again, the socialization, and briefly, when you had the lecture today, I briefly asked that whether you had some of the experiences of gender or the gender stereotype enforcement. For example, for me, as the eldest son in my family, I heard a lot of the emphasis on the being very competitive son, in terms of the academic achievement or the characteristic, and also some kind of emotional control. Which means if I express, when I was young, if I express very kind of emotional reactions, I was sometimes criticized that I'm not the guy with the masculinity, and I was forced that to have some levels of the masculinity without any very bad intention for my family, because in the culture, having some certain levels of the pre-standards of the masculinity as a male or straight male was more acceptable, and some attitudes outside of those standards. For example, if I happen to cry during the class, maybe it would not be very acceptable, or not. You might be astonished a lot, because that would not be very expected as a adult male, or adult professor, or something. But there are some sets of the standards, very, very well regarded standards as a man or as a woman. So you may experience some ungendered expectation in your the educational institutions, such as high school or middle school, even in family. You may experience some of the different expectations. So family and the peer group and the school, these are the main agencies. We will see the agencies of the society, not the commercial agencies, but the levels of the institutions, putting us in the socialization processes and providing us some opportunities to interact with each other. So we may have some possible applications of the symbolic interactionism that, based on the interaction of the family, of the peer group, of the school, we would see many different types of the differentiations of the gender identity, or the exposure to the stereotype of the gender situations. So I will add the link of this video so that we can make this video shorter. and the impact of the media as well. So as a father of the two girls, they always wanted to watch some of the princess videos. And in these, the classical, the princess videos and classical, the Disney movies of the princesses, you'd see that there are very, very strong stereotypes of the princesses, and they are the princesses and the main characters, and many times they are very passive and sometimes waiting their princesses as the savior, and they are very beautiful in terms of their characteristics. Sometimes they are more energetic and they are very smart, but still they are interacting with the very good, very handsome, very tall, very rich, and very active, and very competitive males in that field of the background. So these were the main themes of the Disney movies in the past decades. However, in these days, I didn't include Elle and there was another Disney movie, El Canto. I didn't watch the video yet. But anyway, there are the Brave, I forgot her name, but based on the Moana and Elsa and Anna and Laia, there are not clear the romantic relationship between the male character and the woman character, and even there are not the romantic relationship or not the male figure or main character. So on those levels of the impact of the media in terms of the stereotype, strengthening the stereotype of the media, these are getting less and less, even though there are the opposite directions, because there are some emphasis of the homosexual relationship. And there is a rumor that in the Frozen 3, the Elsa will be a character representing the homosexuals, because there is a rumor of a scenario that she will meet on the romantic relationship, people of romantic relationship, and they will be woman. We're not sure about that feature, and you may have some worry. Probably showing this movie in the person, if you are worried about the homosexuals in the socialization, you may not like that. But if you prefer having the gender neutral relationship in the socialization in the media, you may like these types of the changes. So again, as I mentioned the last time, these are not always agreeable for you, and that is very natural. And I don't want to force you to put your opinion in one side or the another, because that's totally up to you. But I'm just showing that these are possibilities. Also, as we could see in the video about the police academy, on the very classical video a long time ago, you may remember that the homosexuals were depicted as in the very humanized way and humiliating on their gender identity. So these are not very well allowed these days, and there are more on the expressions of the homosexuals in those images. These famous Disney movies and the new on the Marvel series, there are many types of the depictions of the homosexuals and types of the the preferences in their couples. Okay, so the sex and gender inequality. So before moving that, and let me stop here. So in case to make the quality of video.